really the goal that we wanted
Ahoy.
for this patch was we were seeing
We are going to
very
jump right into
specific builds
changes.
occurring in the Hunter lane
Because for
at
some reason
high
Hyra
levels, and
started
we saw
early, I
people down
think.
to basically all levels of play.
So we're just going to talk
It was a
about
very
what's going on.
optimized build, and we know
About
Hunter
the
builds tend to kind of
changes
go
that
towards
we've
the
already
optimized
looked at,
build, but
and
this
we want to
optimized
hear
build with a crit
Hyra's
build that
reasoning
was very
today.
strong
So that's what we're going to
opponent,
do.
and
This
critical
is so
strike
far
one of those things
unplanned,
that
so
can
it's a bit
feel
messy. Sorry
frustrating when
about
it
that.
is
Let's go.
the go-to choice. And so a lot of this patch is focused around taking down some key aspects of that build, some of the synergy stats they were getting that enabled them to do so well, and then also focusing on what we believe were the problem items kind of creating this situation in the first place. So rather than nerfing crit items necessarily directly, we're looking at a few key things that are pushing it above everything else, mainly Gilded Arrow, Ornate Arrow, and Diamond Arrow, and looking just to bring those down while also opening up other options. Some of those are in the bonus balance patch, and then one of the other major ones, Transcendence buff, is in the main patch. So we'll get into all of that, but I want to kind of preface that. But the first one is the Enhanced Purple buff. All the Enhanced buffs are meant to make you feel more powerful, but Enhanced Purple buff was just kind of a tier above the rest. Being attack speed is just a pure DPS stat. And so we're toning it down a little bit just to be more in line with the power level of all the other enhanced starter, or in the enhanced jungle buffs.
Okay, yep, that change is reasonable.
And you were talking about Gilded Arrow and Ornate Arrow and Diamond Arrow. So let's go ahead and get into those real quick. Started with Gilded Arrow. We're going to be getting a nerf for that for the gold gained per successful marked target, killed from 10 to 7.
Now, this is the main crit nerf. A lot of people, I think, aren't registering in their minds that Gilded Arrow, Ornate Arrow is like the crit item in the meta right now, because it's not one that we've had for years. Like Deathbringer, Executioner, Wood Demon, stuff like that.
I'm sure people have noticed that.
Deathbringer,
I give people that much credit.
Rage as crit items. They really think of those, but really the one that was enabling the current Hunter build the most is Gilded Arrow and Ornate Arrow, even more so than those other crit items. The upgrade here does have critical strike chance on it, and the gold gain you would earn from this is really strong. This was an interesting item arc because it launched and we thought this item was crazy strong in the design team, and we were building it all the time. And then it launched and everyone was like, oh, Death Toll this and Mannequins that. And everyone kind of forgot about this item. It kind of cruised under the radar for a while.
Death Toll was just too broken,
I know I've seen
guess.
a few people call out its strength, but once the pros picked it up and fit it into the proper build, it became an obviously overpowered choice, right? And the gold gain is really interesting.
I'm not sure when
they're
they're pointing out that they also
so we're toning
buffed
it down on the starter
how the arrow
item to
works,
slow down the Hunter curve
huge.
throughout the regular game. And a lot of people don't understand how important this change right here is. This change, people, think it's 20 level 20, right? Before you even get this, how much gold can you get at level 20? And the answer is a lot. And you can actually make a really big impact with that too, as we saw in the Pro League players earning Hunters with both 3K potions in relatively quick games. So this is a relatively large nerf to the current core crit build. It does dodge a few items that people might historically associate with crit, but this is the one, and this was the direction we chose to go with, specifically after looking at the SPL stats and consulting with pros, right, Pon?
Yeah, so a lot of the pros here, we talked to them a lot about the idea of like what is really powerful here, and gold gain was like the go-to point for all these items, to the point where they said, yeah, I know you buffed it and we started building it after you buffed it, but that item was probably good before you buffed it, and if you just revert the nerf, we probably still keep building this all the time. Also, if you nerf this too much and you don't nerf Diamond Arrow, that gold gain is so valuable. It's when you hit level 20, it's not just when you hit level 20, it's not just that, oh, I've hit level 20, I've hit max build. We have things like game like the 3K pots. We have the things like the yellow potion that lets you swap out your boots for a more powerful option. And when you're in the games that do go past the early stages of the late game, so first fire giant push doesn't end the game, these start really compounding, and if you can get those advantages above your opponent, you're going to be able to be in a much better position to actually close out the game. So this is really what we want to focus on, and it was really directed by a lot of the consultation we got from the pro players, where this gold gain just enabled so much pressure above your opponents that if you didn't go it and you didn't end the game on that first fire giant push, you were at a huge disadvantage. So that's really what we're focused on here. That's a lot of why these changes are really focused on gold, and even though they're not literal crit nerfs, they do affect the crit build that a lot of the top end players were going.
Okay. So thank you guys very much. Excited to see how that's going to...
See, we can actually pause this so I can actually add my own comment. That's very nice. We're going to do that this time because I already talked about this before. And what I want to say here is what I said in the video yesterday was that I thought there's a good chance that this is coming from pro feedback, and their feedback is very different because the gold value is obviously more important there. The problem is, I don't even think they should have reverted all the changes that were made to it anyways. I don't think that would have been good for the item. But the problem is that, even in competitive, you will usually see the secondary crit item being finished first before Diamond Arrow, meaning they still put more value on that extra crit damage than they put on the gold that they could get from it. So that kind of speaks against it, even based on the feedback that they gave. And the other thing is that obviously this doesn't reflect what happens on other levels of play. And on other levels of play, this is most certainly more built for the crit, and the gold gain is something, you know, you have in the back of your head, and you're like, yeah, that's nice too. And I don't think that many games in the SPL are like just revolving around the 3k pots to the degree that everything else is basically irrelevant, especially because if you want to keep the effects on Diamond Arrow, you also can't necessarily get the 3k pots immediately. So I think there's a little bit more to the story here, and that's why I think the nerfs should have been more diversified as well. Let's move on to what I got to say about Diamond Arrow.
Play out. We've also, going on to Executioner, we're going to be having a nerf
Oh wait,
for
they don't even talk about
Executioner
that
as well,
separately.
where the attack
That's
speed
odd.
is going to be decreased. Why are we doing that?
So Executioner is related to the crit build, but also part of kind of the other initiative with these hunter changes. We didn't just want to annihilate the current build. We wanted to provide a set of buffs and nerfs. So we're actually doing a few buffs in the bonus balance, which is rare. We're doing that to provide a few different options. So we hit Diamond Arrow and Ornate Arrow really hard to just hit the core build really hard right now. You're going to get a little bit of attack speed off from the upgraded jungle buff. You're also going to get a little bit of attack speed off from the Executioner. Possibly hunters will still be buying this item, or quite likely they'll still be buying this item often, but they're going to have a little less attack speed if they do. And then this one ties closely into the next two buffs, which is some other penetration focused items that are getting some small power buffs to better compete with Executioner. So if people do continue building the same build, which there's likely going to be a change because I don't think we're going to see as much arrow. So we might see some changes already. But even if they do, they're building Executioner, they're going to have a little less attack speed, but then we're also doing a shift here to encourage maybe some other items find their way into this hunter build instead of Executioner.
Okay, and you said that this was going to lead.
Odd that he mentions other items that might replace Executioner here, but doesn't mention Dominance, which would be the item that really competes with Executioner. I think it's kind of a misleading idea that people are going to build Atlantis with its 10% pen instead of Executioner. I think Atlantis was good because of 20% pen, I said that, and Atlantis cannot be as good as Executioner because otherwise it can't have the passive that it has right now, which was a big problem for a while. And also Arcee, which is going to come next, is not really a replacement for Executioner because it's flat pen item, so it targets something completely differently. So you want to have like something that gets you at least 20% pen in one way or another, and you're kind of down to, Executioner, Titan's Bane, Dominance are usually your hunter options, and Titan's Bane is mostly not preferable because it's not really designed as a hunter, it's more designed as an assassin item with the front-loaded burst and all. And Dominance, again, is relatively hard to fit into a build. So interesting approach here, and I wonder why they didn't take an angle onto Dominance there and maybe buff Dominance just slightly to make that more appealing instead.
Lead into Atlantis Bow getting a buff as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Right,
so
and
Atlantis
Arcee.
Bow. Yep. So Atlantis Bow here getting the 10 extra physical power. This is an item that was really good for a while. We did some adjustments and we made some tweaks. It got the 10% penetration. And over time, it's really kind of fallen out of favor compared to Executioners. We just want to bring their power levels closer to each other. Executioners should be higher DPS opportunities when you have multiple subsequent hits, but where Atlantis Bow should shine on that initial hit as well as the second hit because of the way that damage works. And also just the extra utility you get when you are successful in triggering its passive. So just making sure that these feel more comparable to each other is the main goal of this change.
Cool. And then you were talking about the Aussie buff as well, Pawn.
I don't think they feel comparable.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh, yeah.
Ajax,
I'll say.
you were talking about it.
I'll take
Yeah,
it.
no, it's just similar idea as the Atlantis Bow. This item actually very popular in the casual and non-conquest player base. The passive trigger on it is super fun to just turn fights around with. So we were a little hesitant to buff it too heavily. We want to be careful with this item because it's had its time in the meta where it's been really powerful, but it's a really cool item where we think it's just outside the edge of viability. Potentially it needs a little bit more. You know, you could say that about some of these hunter items, but we did make a really big change to their number one enabler for the whole build. So we did go intentionally a little softer on some of these other changes.
I think it's really unfortunate that power pen builds
And
are
then
so
as
expensive.
we go into Bluestone, we're having a few
And crits
nerfs
so cheap.
for Bluestone Pendant as a starter and Bluestone Brooch as the upgraded. We're having that nerfed. What's going on with that?
So Bluestone really started some interesting conversations. We gave a buff to it in a situation where we actually thought the perception on it was a bit weaker than it actually was, and that buff was focused on making it more offensive. This caused it to be kind of the dominant go-to choice. But one thing we also got as feedback was that we liked.
That is not quite true, because it was actually in competitive, it was already the dominant choice beforehand. That's what's still weird to me. Like as soon as we got to the challenger circuit, we saw that to the SCC, whatever. We saw that it was already like the most dominant choice by far. So it wasn't really until after the buff; it was already before the buff.
That players like that it was an offensive choice. It creates some like lethality in the solo lane. You could use it to bully and fight other players. And so rather than just reverting the change that we did and potentially going even a bit further, we want to make sure that each item has its own unique identity. So when we do a balance change that kind of reinforces an identity, often rather than just reverting it, we might be more interested in doing things that are making sure that it doesn't have all the strengths. So Bluestone Pendant, it was very good not only for its offensive capability, it gave you base power, so you also just were really good at boxing, and it gave you 20 HP 5, which gave you really good sustain. If you were a little bit hurt, you could kind of sit back for a wave or two and kind of just regenerate enough health to start boxing again. So rather than just reverting the change to its offensive nature, which people did enjoy the kind of lethality that was in the solo lane, we're focused on decreasing a strength that it really shouldn't have if it's going to be a really good offensive choice. So that decrease in HP 5 will just put it into a better spot. Now, if you actually want to survive a bit more in the lane, you might want to look at other starter choices than Bluestone Pendant.
We'll see how that pans out.
Cool. Thank you very much.
I'm really curious about that one.
And then last, this
I'm really
is
not
going
sure
to be
how
a
much
change
impact
that
it'll
we're
have.
also going to kind of lead us into mid-season for the reinforced shoes. What's going on,
Right.
Jack?
This one has been an interesting topic over the past, I don't know, months, maybe even years. These boots are really strong, and the pro players know that and have been building it. It doesn't seem to translate to a lot of the rest of our players, though. I've been keeping a close eye on the data, looking at just how popular cooldown boots are still amongst support players across other skill levels and in casual conquest. And that's just not necessarily the right decision right now. I guess that, that's a creative choice if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, but the tank built boots are being overwhelmingly built in pro play. So really what we're talking about here is a bit of a disconnect between our different play style groups, and us being hesitant to nerf things that only seem to be present in the pro league. So if the whole huge bulk of the community is not really experiencing these boots being too strong, or still the rest of the community is often still just very concerned about the viability of supports and tanking as a concept, right? We really at Smite, we think a lot about what does it feel like to be a support main? What does it feel like to be a tank main? We want people to be interested in that role, and people already kind of feel like they're doing a service to the game, right? They're already being like, I'm a team player, I'm a good guy, that's why I play support.
Support mains.
We do. We support you mains. You support mains. We support you support mains. And that's why we've held off on nerfing this item for so long. And that's why this nerf is even a bit of a small nerf even right now. But because this issue has been, the pros been talking about a lot and players and stuff, and there's been some disconnects, we have been talking about how to make some bigger changes to solve this type of problem. And that's going to be happening in mid-season, which is next update. So I don't want to give any spoilers about what's happening there, but we will be making further changes to this item and other items. Obviously, it's a mid-season, so there's lots of changes. But in the meantime, we're going to be cutting the CCR down. And in the meantime, if you're still building cooldown boots in the casual support meta and wondering why you're dying, please buy these boots instead. And you should have a good 2 months of tanking for us before mid-season comes and mixes up everything.
And if you
I want to point out here, I'm glad that they acknowledge that this is actually a very small nerf for the state of the item. I find it interesting that they don't mention solo at all, because it's being used in solo as well. What I think is relevant here is keeping in mind that a lot of casual support players don't actually want to play support. They end up in support because somebody has to play it, and they build cooldown reduction because it's the one that gives you immediate feedback. It feels good. You can use your abilities more often, you can be more aggressive with that, and you can feel the difference. Shoes of the Magi, you can feel a little bit, or not so much on a tankier character with lower scalings. Reinforced you can't really feel outside of the fact that you don't die as much, but you do less damage, you can't use your abilities more often, and people don't like that. It doesn't feel interesting. And I actually just saw that today. Like today I was playing mid, and then I had a support who was in mid as well, and he would just not be able to put any pressure up, and it just kept getting pushed back and losing his HP so quickly. And I was like, okay, what's he building? Look at the build, and he was still building Watchers Gift cooldown boots. I was like, okay, that's your problem. It's you know, he didn't really adapt to the changes into the current playstyle. The meta is not following it, and he's getting punished very hard for it. But you probably wouldn't realize it until you've built Reinforced Greaves a little bit and seen the difference and can recognize the difference for yourself. And that's why they're so much less popular overall. But I'm curious to see what they do next patch.
Get in before next Tuesday. You can, before the nerf hits, you can
Right,
change up.
like a month and a half or so. Yeah, you'll even get it before. Yeah, start right now. You've got another week before this goes live, and you get nerfed. Right, go.
Yep.
It's just 10%.
Well, that's
You
going
can
to
save
cover it
yourself.
for the items for the bonus balance. So let's get into gods. And the first god that I have on my list is the most recent rework, Persephone. So she's getting a little bit of a nerf. Is that what? Why, Pawn? Why is she getting nerfed?
So,
Wait, I thought that was.
so yeah,
from...
Persephone rework has been really
Hang on.
interesting to watch.
She was bad.
Yeah. Well, we were
Really long.
obviously any rework is going to be very interesting. There's a lot of people who feel like they identify with a core playstyle of a character, and a rework kind of necessitates changing that. So we were really careful to watch all the feedback here and make sure that we go in a direction that feels good for the game. I think as players have actually gotten their hands on Persephone and played, there's a lot of things that people do enjoy about the new kit. We've seen her overall see much more success. People are more successful at picking her up for the first time and actually doing well with her. People who spend time to actually master her are uncovering different things, learning how to do burst combos. So there's also some room for her to grow. But we also do see the feedback around like the passive changes. We saw that there were definitely some bugs on release. So really right now we're focused on trying to address a lot of those feedbacks, fixing a lot of those bugs, adding back the skeletal explosion sound so that it's actually there. Making sure that one feels very chunky when you hit it. But we did see that people were largely coming to the conclusion that, yes, she's very strong. If she hits you with that Harvest Leap combo, if she just bursts you down, like you can die very quickly. And a lot of that was just enabled by that triple Flower Bite combo. Taking off the magical power scaling here is just going to take the edge off that combo. She is putting herself at risk to do that. She has to be close enough to detonate those flowers. She has to use her mobility. It should feel pretty rewarding, but it shouldn't actually just delete you. So the extra magical power scaling reduced here is just going to help with that.
Cool. I look forward to seeing that. I love Persephone, but maybe she could tone it down a bit.
By all accounts, she's doing well after the rework, which is quite a roller coaster of perception. Everyone was worried that she might underperform, and then when they played her, they're like, okay, she's good. Okay, she's too good. Okay, she's way too good? Question mark. And then here we are with with the nerfs.
Strength and fun are also disconnected concepts, so those can get muddied together too. So we're really careful watching all the feedback, and we just want to make sure that you guys are having a fun time with the new character.
Also, a huge amount of bug fixes and other quality of life updates coming for her in the main patch, which I'm not sure if we're talking about again in a separate statement, but there's a bunch of hot fixes have already gone live, so you can see those on our social media about some of the issues, and a few more that are a little bit less important are coming out in the next update. Pon hears the pleas of the Persephone mains and is bringing back the tumble sound effect on the ability one.
Yes.
So a lot of things coming back to make sure that this goddess feels as good as we could possibly make her to play.
Sounds good. Thank you guys very much. We're going to now go into Gilgamesh getting nerfed again. What's going on with Gilgamesh?
He is quite resistant to nerfs. He's been nerfed a few times right now, and we're not seeing a huge shift in his metrics. He's still performing really well. So we're just hitting him again with a few key nerfs, specifically his slow duration on Sunforged Scimitar, which, if he's really stuck to you, you might not notice a change here, but there's a lot of flexibility with that extra slow duration of way he can, change targets or back off and re-engage. So that's a big change, as well as just some more damage changes. He was a relatively high damage god launch, especially for his class. He's come down into more in line with a lot of the rest of his class and his role, but dropkick still hits hard, and we're taking that down as well. The god is definitely approaching, I think, a good balance state, but we're not quite there yet. So really interested to see how these affect him, and if he still needs more, we'll keep taking it down bit by bit if we have to.
he especially, like, this was kind of a misconception by some people, it seems. He especially performs well on higher levels of play, by the way. He's, like, the higher you go in level of play, the better he performs. It seems like he shifts more into solo there as well, whereas overall he's, being played everywhere. But yeah, might be an interesting topic to look into in more detail in the future, but definitely still a character that might not be at the end of his nerfs yet. We'll see.
For his sake, I hope not. But
He's still doing
I'm
very
gonna-
well right now.
Yeah,
Very.
but he's fun.
He
We've
is
also got King Arthur getting a nerf. I know a lot of people have been asking for this one. So King Arthur getting nerfed.
Yeah, he's really interesting too, because we were actually worried a little bit when we did like Gladiator Shield changes. A lot of changes we think are going to affect King Arthur because those feel like such core items on him. He ends up just kind of not caring about it, which indicates that his core kit actually is pretty good without necessarily needing items to bump it up. But then when you do give him a strong Bluestone pendant, he's even stronger. We think even though we are toning back the sustain on Bluestone pendant, he's still one of those characters that really does push it above other characters and how it's used. And even when he's not building that, we saw him succeed when we were in a Warriors Axe meta where people were building that. He was actually doing well with that item as well. So again, we think the problem is more on his core kit. And Steadfast, that passive damage mitigation is just incredibly efficient. It's one of those things that's on for most of the, like, it might not be on at the start of a fight, but it gets ramped up really quickly, and it just lets you be really just tankier than the rest of the warrior cast. So decreasing its overall effectiveness is just going to be one of those things that you'll feel King Arthur actually dying more often when he tries to dive the back line.
Similar
That's
theme
what's
as
up.
Bluestone Pendant, right? It's King Arthur is an aggressive god. We could have nerfed his damage, but instead we nerfed his survivability because we'd rather him have a trade-off as opposed to him just feeling bad at the thing he's supposed to do, right? I think this change is one that a lot of people don't notice. It's a small numerical stat buff, but it has a huge impact on the total damage he takes across an entire game. So I think this is going to make a big impact on his data, and I think this is going to make him a little riskier to play in a lot of those situations where people are just kind of face rolling, as they like to say when people play King Arthur. It's going to be a little harder to do that right now. You might have to use your hands instead to play it. Yeah.
Well, y'all said King Arthur will probably die more often,
Let's
so
see.
I am on board. Thank you very much.
2%
I
mitigation is
appreciate it.
nice, but
We've also got some nerfs coming for Sobek for lurking in the waters. We're going to be decreasing the slow and also the protections.
wait, this is
What's
new?
going on with Sobek?
This god is just a pro play go-to. I mean, he is kind of
Oh, hang on. This change was not in the patch. I was wondering why they targeted Ymir and not Sobek. Interesting. So decrease the slow, 25. Wow. That's a huge nerf. Holy.
one of my
Okay.
favorite supports all time, my original main. Sobek always brings something useful to the team. He's got his pluck. It's not, there's a few gods with similar type of abilities, but no one quite does it like Sobek. He's very aggressive, evasive. He can chase down people. He's got good peel. He does have a lot of things to bring to the table. He often does not perform as well in regular play as he does in pro play. A lot of times when we were nerfing him, the pro players are really happy, but a lot of the other players are kind of scratching their heads. So we were doing some investigation, and Sobek is one of, if not the most picked god across Season 8, and was also across most of Season 7. When we looked at the full, then we were like, was he actually the most picked god in all of pro history? And we were like, we went and checked. Okay, no, he's not. He's like top 7 or something like that, which is still pretty high. But really what we looked at today is his ultimate, just the ability for him to really control fights with that ultimate in the late game, that really big AoE. He's already so good at focusing down one person, with the pluck. This seemed like a really big strength. So we're bringing that down, that slow in the later ranks, as well as his tankiness. A lot of times he can just, you miss that pluck, you should get punished, but then you can just quick ult and avoid a lot of the damage. Now you're going to take a little bit more damage if you make that mistake, which us Sobek players know that's a scary situation to be in, but now it'll be even a little bit more scary.
I miss my pluck a lot, so I don't want to be in that situation, but we'll see how it goes. And then Scylla's also going to be getting a nerf to Crush. Looks like just a little bit of a decrease in penetration. What is the
so
plan
this
with that?
is
Well, there's so many new changes here that were not mentioned. Okay. Well, that's good. That's a good change.
Yeah, so Scylla is one of those mages that has been really doing well at kind of all levels of play, but also at the top end. And a lot of her strength really comes from, she is one of those mages that can really punish a lot of the backline dive warriors or supports that really want to kind of disrupt what the enemy team's plans are. Crush, having that percent penetration on the max rank of Crush, does really enable her to poke out characters that other mages really just can't. And why this is a cool strength that she has, it's probably just a bit too potent in what it's doing. So 15% instead of 20%, keeping the unique identity, keeping the unique strength, but just making sure it's not too potent.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. And then Heimdall's next up. He's going to be getting a nerf as well, to the Vigilant and to Bifrost.
There's a critical strike nerf for people who. How come we're nerfing things close to get a critical strike instead of
I see
actual
critical strike in
strike?
less numbers.
Yeah, I don't think anyone actually expected us to decrease crit chance as part of this. Anyway, so this is actually doing Heimdall's bonus damage. Heimdall has unique basic attacks that do unique damage scaling, so he has unique crit rules built into his passive. We are just decreasing that a little bit. You know, I guess if crit becomes not a build at all, this nerf won't really have too much effect on him. But we expect it to be, you know, a potential build, and we also just know that Heimdall is using the crit really well, so we're taking his damage down a little bit in that way. And we were also increasing the cooldown of his leap. This leap is hard to use, but when people use it right, it is very strong. It's in most cases, it's more powerful than a normal leap. Do not use it to get back to base. Just don't. It's much better if you just save it for an escape.
You can't stop me, AJ.
Just run back. Trust me, you won't fall that far behind. It will be better than dying. But yeah, this ability is really strong, and this seems to be the ability that enables his pro play the most. So he's become a really high pick again in pros this year. So hoping to take that down a little bit. And you know, we have some more fun buffs for hunters coming up too. So hopefully we see some new faces in the next few matches.
Cool. And Ymir is getting a nerf, and I believe it kind of is it.
Did you
Can
say
we
fun buffs
sum it
for
up
hunters?
as less walls?
Uh-oh.
Pretty much less walls. He's just one of those, again, another support pick that we've seen a lot of use at the top in play. He's also just generally strong across the board. When you get those walls in like the perfect spot, it can be really devastating. Increasing the cooldown just makes it so that he just isn't as controlling the fights, especially now that he can control the duration by like putting it up and then canceling it when it's no longer useful and getting it cooldown quickly or cooldown more quickly. This just makes him a bit easier to fight against.
Cool. And then we also have one last ADC nerf coming for Onher with Desert Fury. Ajax, what's going on with Onher? Why does he need to be nerfed?
Along like the last few gods that we nerfed, you know, Sobek, Scylla, Ymir, Heimdall, all top pro picks. This guy is still one of the #1 picks in the pro league. We did some damage nerfs to him last patch. We saw some good results from that, but we still were discussing with the pro players that this ultimate cooldown was one that came up a lot. The extended CC immunity is a really important part about this cooldown. So this is almost like increasing an extra, 15 seconds on her speeds, because he often will use this just to cleanse out of things or to protect himself from getting CC'd. But it also does a huge amount of damage. So slowing this down, the pro players are very cognizant of these ultimate cooldowns. A lot of other skill levels don't see huge changes to these type of balanced adjustments. But at the pro level, this should be really impactful. Decreases the amount of, increases the window to gank him as in the early game, as well as increases your amount of time for like re-engaging in late game team fights. So looking forward to this change, and all of the hunter changes together are really going to be interesting to see how things shake out.
Got a very interesting one.
I love playing hunters.
I like this one so
I'm
far.
a little nervous, but I believe. I trust y'all. And then last but not least for our bonus balance, we've got the newly remodeled Athena getting a nerf as well. What's going on with Athena?
So reach, really quick, the TLDR is reach hits less hard. And also reach had a component that wasn't actually labeled, which was, let's say you throw it at a minion wave, that first minion hit is going to take more damage than all the rest. That wasn't labeled there, but we have decreased that subsequent hit scaling from 25% to 20%. Later in the patch, we'll talk about this a little bit more, but we've also reworked the description to describe those effects and also just make it more intuitive, because when I say things like scaling from 35% to 30%, if you go try and do it in game, you're going to get numbers that don't quite make sense. And that's because there's an invisible backend number that's considering. We'll go again later when we talk about the description change, but just know that this is roughly the numbers that were there. You can see that they're decreased just to lower the kind of clear that Reach has and also to better describe what it's actually doing. And then also Confound, we're decreasing the damage that we added to Confound. We think that this Confound damage really did help round out her kit, but obviously adding damage on an ability that didn't have damage before is a really, really, really big buff. And so we're just decreasing it to be more in line with what strength really needs to be there for that ability.
Awesome.
The confusing math on Reach, the only other thing to keep in mind is that Reach nerf is a little bigger than it looks.
Yes. So the new text will describe it as, previously if the text was, it would have said Reach does 1.75 times your basic attack damage. Now it's doing 1.5 times your basic attack damage. So that's the actual decrease that you will feel.
So
that's
even though
much.
that's a 5% nerf in the current text, we're fixing the text so people can better understand it, and you'll see that that's actually a 25% nerf on Reach, which is pretty significant. So
yes,
Athena's still performing super well. I'm thinking after this she's going to be good though, right, Pon Pon? We're just going to be able to cruise for a little while after this.
Hopefully. I'm looking forward to it.
Just let her chill. Cool. Well, that's going to wrap it up for all the balance that's going live on Tuesday next week. I can't believe it's already going to be the bonus balance part of 8.5 already. But we also have skins coming out as part of the bonus update as well. So first off, Talons of Tyranny is going to be getting a couple new skins. The first one is going to be Infernal Beast Guan Yu. And
I want to see the
I
Kumbakarna.
believe we've got the card art ready. There he is.
I'm here
I
for
love the
Kumbakarna.
purples. Yes. So
Guan
he's
Yu.
purple. He's got pink little effects, and it's beautiful. We've got to go
Fearsome
in
god
game
for
to
his
see it.
his meta reign. Has it ended? I wouldn't say it's ended. He has fallen a little to the wayside.
I still see him around from time to time. Yeah.
Well, you can see him well anyways.
Oh, I love that. I love his boots and the details on like his armor and different
That weapon.
pretty effects too. Oh yeah,
Hot.
so pretty. I love that hot pink. But let's listen to the voice pack.
I hail from the hell of fiery barbs, bearing a torment beyond mortal reckoning. Worry not, my wrath falls upon the enemy forces. For now.
Oh, I love it. He seems like almost mystical or something.
Ooh.
That's not the word I'd use.
That's for sure.
All right, and the next one we've got is Cultus Chronos.
Oh yes, this
Oh
one.
my goodness.
Oh, man.
We've been getting a
Yes.
lot of requests for the Chronos skin. It has been a little while. Same with Guan Yu, actually. So really big shout outs to the team for getting some lesser skinned gods, get some hot new skins. This one is really cool and a big, overall visual shift for Chronos.
Yes,
Definitely.
I feel like Chronos usually looks really friendly. And this is terrifying.
You're saying that's not
oh,
friendly?
I love it.
I love
a
the
little
face paint.
bit.
It's
Those
really
are
cool.
tattoos.
The weapon is
Yeah.
amazing too. Chronos has a lot of cool things you can do with his weapon, and I really like how this one turned out.
Oh yeah. Let's give the voice pack a listen.
Is it not really close to the normal
Join
one?
the order, and together we will find victory.
Ooh, he seems so
See, all you have to do
powerful.
is join him. He is a good guy. Just join the cult, and
Well,
everything will be okay.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Moving right along, we've got a new Kabrakan skin, Gravemaker Kabrakan. I feel like we're
Yes.
getting all kinds of skins
Ooh.
for gods that have
Yeah.
needed skins for a little while.
The
Tombstone me,
underappreciated gods
daddy.
are going to be appreciated today.
Yes.
Oh,
This will
man.
be available in the Gravemaker chest, but you can also get it for direct purchase if that's more your thing.
Oh my god.
But I love the details like the
The lighting.
emblems on his knees and the
So
little
shiny.
details kind of
Shields.
all over.
It's so good.
Those are the fanciest
Oh.
shields in existence.
Oh, I didn't even notice that they're like tombs. Like,
The skin.
Yeah.
oh, that's
Yes.
so neat.
It's like a whole King Arthur
skin.
sarcophagus that he's got on
And his
each
head's
hand.
floating.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yes.
say his head is disconnected from his body as well.
Praise Kabrakan.
I love those gold accents. They're so pretty. Let's give the
Oh my
voice pack a
gosh.
listen.
The Lady of Suffering has given us purpose. Come, We must not disappoint.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness. I love it. This might be my favorite Kumbakarna skin. I also
Yes.
love the marble on the inside
This
of
might be my
the
favorite skin.
tombstone things,
Mhm.
or the tomb
Yes.
coverings.
Oh,
Very
like
That's
the
really
material
pillars.
work.
The arms are pillars. What?
And then
No,
we've
go
also
back to
got our
Kumbakarna.
Blessing of the Nile Sobek. This is going to be the Season 8 Commendation Reward.
Ooh.
So if for all of you who are familiar with how the
Sick.
commendation rewards work, if you don't get banned all season long, you get a free skin, and this will be the free skin for this season. Let's go ahead
Right,
and
so
take
you
a
won't
look
be
at
able
the
to
game.
unlock this until later in the year. But we
Correct,
are getting
yes.
it in early, as we did kind of with our ranked skins and
Spicy.
yeah, the other ranked skins we're getting in early, so people can earn those early and see what the reward is. So although you won't be able to get this one yet, you will be able to see what the reward is by going to your profile and checking the commendation section, so people will know what they're working for. And we just want to reward our players who are the good ones out there. And if those of you who are not so good,
Yes.
maybe this will be enough to change your ways.
A nice little incentive
Colors
to be
clash a little
nice.
bit, unfortunately. But I love the
But I
armor.
do love these gold and white. White and gold just seems so regal and like pure, which is part of commendation. Just be sweet.
I wish
Yes,
they
I love
made.
these.
Let's get
They have a really nice tone to them, and they fit very well with the theme of commendations and just being nice to each other.
I wish they just made him like an albino crocodile along with that. Just make the whole skin white. I think that would look really cool with this particular skin. I think they used to have a recolor that was kind of like that, the normal recolor, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see what he has to say.
My blood runs cold.
That's default voice pack.
Yeah.
There's no voice pack changes on these.
All right, cool.
I mean,
Thanks.
I won't. I like hearing Sobek. It's fine.
I love
Yeah.
Sobek's voice too. Honestly, it was a big debate whether or not we should change his voice in the remodel arc.
No.
And his voice is a little unique, but it's too legendary to change in my opinion. So we kept it.
Yes.
Nice. Well, as a reminder, you will get that for free if you don't get banned all season. So you won't be able to get it this update, but it'll be available for you to see and remind yourself why sometimes it's better to not press enter, But now let's shift into some quality of life updates. So the first one is a pretty big one. It's finally being able to mute copyrighted music in game.
Yes, the
So-
Monster Cat assistance change, right? So there was some
Yes.
concern. There's ways to work around Monster Cat. We gave free licenses. Monster Cat, sorry, we're generous enough to give free licenses to a lot of our content creators. Our entire partner list,
Yep.
right, Cupcake?
The whole
Yeah,
partner
so-
list. Yes, if you're a partner and you didn't see, check your promotions tab in your email because it might have gone there accidentally.
Yeah, so Monster Cat music is 100% safe to stream, but there is some additional rules on YouTube, and we are currently, hooking up all of our pros and partners with that. But if you're not someone who falls into that list or is not able to get the license, you will be able to use this option to mute that music so your YouTube videos are safe to fully publish, as well as, we've done crossovers in the past that have had some music, and, we've done the Red Bull Records type of events that also kind of fell into this category, and it's very likely we'll have those in the future. So this is just a really good setting to have, so you can play with whatever content you want, and then you can also stream and make videos safely. And this is just, I think a lot of modern games are starting to include it, and I think it's time that we did too. So really happy that the audio team and the tech team was able to get this right after the update, after the Monster Cat update. And also, thank you to the community for just like helping troubleshoot like exactly how these types of issues were coming up in different scenarios, and helping us to make sure we could find a way to solve that.
I want to commend on one hand Whiskey Worm, who I know was like very active in pushing that. I messaged him a few times and he was just really working on that. And also the people behind the scenes at Hyros that did that, because I saw the option to do that in Cyberpunk, and I was like, wow, this is something really cool and practical, and it would be nice if Smite had that as well. But I also figured that would be something that is relatively hard to implement. I don't know if it was actually hard, but either way, they did it very quickly in response to the copyrighted music, and I think that's like very good for the future for content creation. So thanks to them, I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really great for the content creators. And then we've also got another thing that I believe was suggested by an Olympian, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Tempe, but pausing in normal mode.
That's
Yeah,
right.
so the big thing.
You got it, Pond. You got it.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you have someone on your team disconnect, someone on the other team disconnects. You want to make sure you have a good game, just like in ranked, where free pausing is kind of just, you can just kind of pause regardless of situation. In normal, we are going to restrict it to only when someone has disconnected. But in that situation, you guys can pause. You can make sure that everything's all good to go. Try and make sure that the integrity of the game stays good, because everyone wants a competitive game. You don't want to just stop because someone disconnected and lost the first wave or two. So just a really nice quality of life change that'll help overall in every single game. And also, I do believe we have a fix, AJ, to like how pausing kind of works when multiple people are trying to spam it.
The pause cooldown. Effectively, it was very possible that you could vote, like when everyone was trying to vote for pause on the same team, you could accidentally like try to vote after and unpause, right? Or click the button to try to unpause really quickly. So we put a little cooldown there to hopefully prevent people from accidentally unpausing immediately after. And just to add a bit about pausing, you know, we were hesitant to allow pausing in normal modes. We generally don't want to disrupt the game flow. In a lot of normal modes, people are just playing, you know, disconnect, whatever, they'll come back, or who knows, like just play. But we did, in this specific case, since we had the tech now to only allow pausing when there's a disconnect, that did make sense. Like, okay, yeah, let's transfer that right over. But I don't think we would ever intend to transfer over normal vote to pause to normal modes, unranked, mostly because we just don't want to disrupt the game flow.
That's fair. That's sufficient.
Yeah, I think it totally makes sense for the disconnects. I'm excited about that because to be honest, I'm scared of ranked. I'm all casual. So I'm excited to have that added. But that's going to cover it for our quality of life section and the bonus balance. So let's get right into the Dark Enchantress update balance section. We're going to start with items. And first, we're going to have a fix for benevolence. Pawn, what's going on with benevolence?
Yeah, so people found that the gold tick starts happening when it's in your inventory at any time above 000, which means that you can do some clever things with it, like, for example, sit in the fountain at 000 with it for a little bit to get some extra gold. There are just a few cases like that where people could use this item to generate gold in unintended ways. So now, if you're going to benefit from it, you have to leave the fountain with it before it will start actually being enabled. So no real way to cheese it where you're just kind of getting free gold and then able to sell it back for full value. You actually have to commit to buying it if you want the GP5.
Nice. Alrighty. And then we're going to have, it seems like a lot of buffs for a lot of masks, but the first one will just be mask in general. Ajax, what's going on with mask?
Yeah, we should have put this in the Gilgamesh buff section, right? Because he's the only person who gets a mask via his random passive. No, these items are interesting, and we don't really want to make them meta, right? We always just want to keep them as kind of a unique option for people to flex into, or people who are the special theory crafters. I know we have a few Olympians who really love trying out unique mask builds, but they were definitely underpowered. We had brought them down for safety reasons a couple months back, and now we're looking to bring them back up. We could potentially just go through a little more quickly through the next few balance changes, because it's kind of all in one theme, right? Which is, we did mostly give them a little bit more of their base power or base tankiness to make them a little better at the base stats. And then we also decreased the intensity of the shifting stats on them just by a little bit, which we think is although it's a symmetrical change, like a buff and nerf at the same time for the percentages, Pon and I discussed this and feel like it's most likely to be a net buff, just because it's not going to be so radically affecting your character in unexpected ways, right?
Yeah, there's a sweet spot there that makes you feel like you are still shifting, because you could just take this to 5% and, like, sure, it's a nice buff and you really don't feel the damage taken decrease, but like that goes against the spirit of the whole item. Whereas if this gets too intense, you just start getting one shot before you can actually get any damage out. So there is a sweet spot where this is the most effective it can be. And we just think that at 20, it was actually a bit too intense in the negative. At 15%, it'll probably be a bit better, and we did that change for both Rangda's mask and its changes and shifts, as well as Alona's mask and its changes and shifts.
Still no plans to bring back a movement speed mask. Not going to do that. Although we do know we have Bumba's mask available to us, and we are still considering what to do with that item yet, but nothing that has jumped out as necessary or super exciting or important yet. But we are thinking about it.
All right. And then next up, we've got Transcendence, which will be getting a buff. It'll be cheaper.
Just a little cost buff. This item has a lot of potential to dominate, multiple roles builds. We also have a lot of other hunter changes coming in the bonus. So this one is staggered just so we can get a little better data from what happens with the crit and the penetration shift first. And then this change is going to go live afterwards, and we can see then if that's going to change the stacking item slot of the hunter build, or potentially on make any changes to assassins. Mostly just to give the design team a little bit better data and set us up for a more accurate update the following updates.
Cool.
It is actually interesting what this could do for assassins as well, because we're seeing a lot more transcendence being picked up on assassins generally already as of late. So we'll see how that goes. And not necessarily in competitive, but at least in high levels of ranked.
So something to keep an eye on. And then we'll also be getting a buff for Death's Toll, where we'll be increasing the magical power by 5.
Yep, so this will start off the final item changes for the patch, which are all related to magical carries. So Death's Toll is one start that you could go as a magical carry, but it didn't really provide enough magical power to feel worthwhile, so we're just bumping it up, making it a more compelling choice for magical carries who want to go and actually use this item for the sustain. But yet again, we have a whole bunch of other changes coming in to also help magical carries.
All right.
Yeah, the next few, Emerald Ring and Enchanted Ring, are both increased attack speed on the tier 1 and tier 2, which we're trying to give these hunters, magical hunters, a better flow into their builds. A lot of times previously, if you just bought those before, they did not nearly feel as good. So we're seeing more attack speed on both of those, as well as some small buffs to Ring of Hecate. It is not going back to its self where it was, dominating the entire meta, but we are... That's passive. We went back and read it, and even after all the nerfs, that passive is still strong. So just a little bit of some better stat adjustments here in power and cost to make it a more viable item to pick up. So along with a lot of the mage ADCs have had direct buffs as well. We're being safe, we're being careful, we're moving them up bit by bit, but we do expect to see them start competing with hunters more after this update. And if it's not enough, we will keep looking at it.
I also noticed that when you were saying the item name, you said Hecate, and I have been calling it Hecate. So
and actually in
in
Sabrina, the Netflix TV show, they call her Hecate. And I don't know what's right.
Oh my goodness.
Too many different pronunciations. So I might trust the producers of that show, but because they've made it a rather large plot point of the last season. But perhaps the more ancient Roman pronunciation would be a little bit different, so I'll look into that. Wrong. But maybe we're all wrong, maybe.
Well, cool. That's going to wrap it up for the item balance that'll be taking place with the update. But we also have tons of gods to go over. We'll start with Athena. We kind of already went over this a little bit. Pawn, will you go into this a little bit more?
Yeah, so this is where I'll try to do the quick TLDR. So let's say a magical character hits for 40 basic attack damage at the start of the game. In the back end, they have 200 bot power because their magical basic attacks scale at 20%. So that is 200, 20% of 200 is 40, right? That's how we get that number. So when we say an ability was getting scaling at 35%, it was considering that 200 number, which made it very odd to calculate the math. It's much more accurate and will be completely correct to say it's just a multiplier on the actual damage of her basic attack going forward, and it's just way easier to calculate. You don't have to know about this invisible bot power rule that we have on these characters. It'll just make way more sense. So the description has been updated to make that really clear, as well as to also describe some subsequent effects that we had from before, which weren't quite clear, like the subsequent damage component of reach.
And that rule exists, that one that Pawn was mentioning, it exists so that magical characters don't have their basic attacks scale with power.
Correct.
So it's intended, this isn't like some weird, I don't know, it's not some weird workaround. It is intended. We intend that when you build power on a magical character, it does not affect your basic attacks as intensely as it does a physical character.
Right.
And passing Athena's passive through that formula is what was causing the confusion. So instead, it's still working the same way. We're just describing it in a way to players that shows the numbers before they go through that extra conversion factor, really.
Right.
Okay. Cool.
I know we're all still confused, but just trust Pawn.
No, that
when you
totally
read the new
makes
description,
sense.
it'll make sense.
And then we've also got a buff coming for Artemis to suppress the insolent.
See, I completely missed the joke, by the way. They wrote on the patch notes about the Artemis haters, and somebody pointed out in the comments, it's actually a reference to the name of the ability, suppress the insolent being the haters. I completely missed that one.
More damage.
So yeah, suppress the insolent. This one is just an item that, Artemis is just a hunter that has been underperforming. One thing that we wanted to look for, and you'll see a few other hunters in this list, is just to bring up some of the underperforming hunters, just to make sure the roster feels fleshed out, especially since we're doing a lot of item adjustments. And this was just one that felt like you could have more damage on suppress the insolent. You're often using this to try and poke 3 minions and a god at the same time. You can't quite hit the full wave with it unless you group them up. So just making sure that this feels impactful. And also the dev text, the whole joke was hatred, suppress the insolent are hating Artemis. That was the joke. Guess it didn't land, but
that's a pretty
my...
esoteric one there, Pon.
Yeah. I will defend most of my dev commentary.
The Ymir one was
I wonder, I as far as I understand it, okay, maybe Pon has seen my video, but as far as I understand it, at least the other ones haven't seen it, so maybe I wasn't the only one who was confused by it. I'm glad he had to explain it. It was actually a good joke if you get it, but like, I just completely missed it.
It's a classic.
But yeah, just overall helps out Artemis. Let's see, Mir just being upset about the changes. He doesn't like getting nerfed.
Said he was going to schedule a meeting with me.
Aw. We've also got Opwash getting buffed. Empty the crypts, but also his base.
Yeah,
I'm
so
scared of
Opwash,
Opwash. Why is he getting buffed?
Well, he's a tricky balance case. We did have a scenario where he was the most picked meta mage during the World Championships 3 years ago. So we know he can be potent in Conquest. We just have to be careful with it because when he is potent, he can be a bit frustrating or difficult to deal with. We focus mostly on his mage sub archetype. A lot of times people want to play him more like a tankier mage. And that does kind of work well with our balancing plans because just giving him too much damage is also problematic. So instead, we're just boosting his base stats a little bit. This might make I think it's more of a casual or a little off meta solo Opwatch, but you do see it quite often. It should make that a lot better. And even if you do just want to play him mid, it'll make him harder to gank in the early game, which is kind of surviving that level 2 jungle gank is super important in the mid lane. This should help him do that a lot. And we also did make a small hint in the dev text that we are considering, more heavy changes for this god in the distant future, but nothing really that we are ready to talk about yet or anything that we've got specifically nailed down. So it's gonna be a little while, but we are considering how Opwatch might need some love.
As a quick reminder for anybody watching, the dev text can be found in the update notes, which are all updated with all the skins and all the balance and everything, so you can be following along with us. And next up, we've got Vulcan. Vulcan is getting buffed to Magma Bomb, increasing that base damage.
Yeah, so Vulcan is one of those mages that we do see some success with, but he doesn't do quite enough to see play at the top end. His passive is really good at keeping him mobile. The low cooldown on the 1 and the slight movement he gets there can be used at a high level. And ultimate, if you have some setup, that ultimate can be really devastating. But we just wanted to give him a little extra bump. Magma Bomb, making sure that feels rewarding to land, especially in the early game, giving him some extra early game lethality and some extra help with his clear to kind of bully lane opponents should help him overall just feel more rounded out.
This one was interesting because I saw a lot of people being like, why are they buffing Vulcan? He's really good. And a bunch of people were like, he's really bad. And it's, people were all over the place on him. But really, we have not seen him be very viable in a competitive sense in quite a while. So we were looking at specifically that. But we know that he has some places in the casual meta where he shines. So that's why it's a pretty safe, small buff. But should help his lane clear, should help his poke. Could definitely make an effect on moving him into the Conquest meta.
Cool. It'd be fun to see if he can make his way into the pro scene a little bit more. We're also going to be having a shift for Merlin. Right as Morgan Le Fay's making her entrance, Merlin is shifty about it. What's going on?
Merlin,
so
cooldown. Oh, sorry, Pon. I mean, I always add things to the end, which throws off our back and forth. But this one,
that's good.
This was an ability that, and we have multiple abilities in the game that do this, where they go into an active state and they don't count the cooldown. The cooldown doesn't start ticking until the effect completes. So it effectively increases the cooldown by quite a bit. So this ability, and there's some reasons for certain abilities to maintain that, and it makes more sense for that to happen. And we don't want to buff the cooldown. So in this one, we felt that was not the case, right? This one felt unintuitive like that. And it was something kind of limiting Merlin's flexibility and his stance changing. So what we did was change this actual code the way the cooldown is tracked first. And then we actually nerfed the cooldown by 2 seconds to make up for the 3 seconds that was changed. So he really got a 1 second cooldown buff at all ranks, as well as a kind of quality of life and intuitiveness buff where you can better keep track of his cooldowns.
Yeah, and one other important thing to note is also the way cooldown works, because it's going on cooldown immediately and it's going to be affected that way. In general, this also favors cooldown builds on Merlin a little bit heavier.
Dazzles and Chronos Pendants.
All right. We'll see how Merlin plays out. And then Kumbakarna is also getting a buff to Throwback and Groggy Strike. The Sleepy God. What's going on?
I mean, he might feel like a sleeper to some people, but he's been sleeping for quite some time. He does have quite a bit of potential to do a lot of damage.
So good.
Hey, what can I say? I make up for the Artemis dev text. He just doesn't quite bring enough impact, especially in like the early laning phase, while you can clear pretty effectively and you can set up some things. He doesn't do as much as some other characters, and in general a lot of his abilities have a lot of conditionals, right? For example, if you use Throwback on a god, you're not throwing a minion through the minion wave, you're sacrificing your clear. That's why we changed the initial hit to be a bit more rewarding, to make sure that it feels like when you're choosing to be aggressive in lane, that's a good decision. Groggy Strike also getting some extra base damage, especially as it scales in the late game, because that is a big windup. It's a big time committal that you're having to try and control the opponents. Again, making sure that feels rewarding for your time investment. So just changes to his base damage. This does make his combo of like ulting someone and then landing all the damage when they land stronger, but that is also one of the strengths he brings compared to other Guardians. So that also makes sense to also highlight as a strength.
Sure. Anything you'd like to add, Ajax? You like to tail things at the end. Okay, cool. Then we will just keep on going for Horus.
That buff is good.
Horus is going to be getting a buff as well to Fracture, increasing the dash range.
Yeah, this is a good one for him. Horus has been, he's been popular in the Pro League in a couple occasions, but the general population has never really taken off on him as a true support. This god definitely has the power to be a true support, but one of the most common, new players trying him out just thought it felt bad to have this kind of short range dash. So we are buffing that, and 5 units can make a big difference. So he'll be able to chase people down a little bit better. And that dash, when you successfully hit a god, goes into a CC plus a relatively large protection shred. So it's a big, important thing to hit. Yeah, so we're excited about this one. This is one that Olympians and players have been asking for a while, and we were able to make it happen. So good luck out there, all of you birdmen.
I'm going to run that.
Godspeed. Speaking of speed, we also have a Mercury buff coming for Made You Look. He's going to be getting increased base damage on that as well. What's going on with that, Pom Pom?
Yeah, actually, Mercury was one of those characters we were like, well, we expect Bumba's boots start to be pretty core, and that sounds like a perfect world for Mercury to get boots as the first item, considering his passive works really well off movement speed. And so at the start of the season, we were kind of expecting him to perform really well, but that just never really panned out. And so one thing we were looking at is, even with a build mostly favoring him, he just doesn't really keep up and clear with other characters. Other characters can clear faster, contest objectives a little bit better. And while he does have one unique strength, which is that Made You Look is a range poke ability that's relatively easy to confirm when you're trying to box someone in the other lane, it just doesn't feel that impactful. And so increasing the base damage here will help his clear speed, help his camp contention, make sure that he can get to level 5 where he can be that really threatening line ultimate to like try and gank a lane from surprise. So just overall rounding out his early game to make sure that he can get to that late game hyper carry that Mercury is known for.
But who got Bamba from Nerf?
I was watching.
I was about
Ajax
to make a joke about
had...
him being annihilated by the Wind Demon nerf, but that is in fact a joke. He probably survived the Wind Demon adjustments. Okay.
Yep.
But he wasn't performing super well even with that. So time for a little buff for the quick guy.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We'll see how that plays out. We've got another hunter that's going to get a nice little buff, is Anami, to Fade Away. Just decreasing the cooldown on that, so she can do that more often.
Yeah, we were talking about this in the balance meeting, and Fish put it really well, where we were designing this goddess, and we were very careful with this ability. We were like, leap plus stealth, everyone is going to think this is wild. everyone's gonna think this is super OP. So we made it like very telegraphed and have some like casting time as well as a long cooldown. And then everybody was like, this ability is weak, and we were kind of surprised to hear that. So over time, we've removed the casting time, and now we're going to be removing this. It's still a relatively long cooldown, but it's closer to your normal leap cooldown. We're still going to keep that telegraphedness, I hope, for the long time, because that I think is still really important to preventing her from being too frustrating. But this goddess is on her way to the top of the charts, believe me, and we keep trying and people keep saying no, she's not very good. So here we are again with this one, and we shall see, because I am convinced that this goddess is one of the strongest hunters in the game that for some reason never gets picked in ranked and pro league.
Yeah, in ranked. No, in ranked she
She's
gets
also
picked
got a skin coming out. We'll get there
More and
later,
more.
but it's really pretty. So maybe that'll help people play her more.
That will. That always does.
Sweet. I'm excited to see it. And then Hu Yi's also going to be getting a buff to Ricochet. What's going on with that, Pompon?
Yeah, so Hu Yi, we even saw a little bit when we first posted these patch notes. It's actually really interesting to be doing commentary on changes after people have seen them. And a lot of people were like, we're like, Hu Yi, why are we buffing Hu Yi? Hu Yi's OP. It's like, what have you been watching for like the past half season? Like, he's just not that much in contention. People really aren't picking him. He had his moments where he was really, really strong for quite a long time. And I think that's kind of like burned into people's memories, but he just hasn't quite really been there. And so one thing that we did previously was we actually took quite a lot of damage off Ricochet. We're bringing some of it back, helping out his wave clear, and also if you can get those spicy triple bounces, it's just going to hit that much harder.
We were talking about how to buff Hu Yi, and we were just like,
yeah,
everyone just wants to see the Ricochet, right? But he does struggle a bit with his lane clear, and just the base damage on the base hit can help that. But Hu Yi does have potential to come back, I think. But we've surprisingly not seen him even in a crit meta where people often would say he could return really well, right? So still haven't seen him. Seemed like a safe idea to buff him, and hopefully we see a little more of him because he's a really fun character to watch.
I can explain that. Hu Yi is incredibly good against crit, but he's not very good with crit compared to some other characters. He's not bad with crit, but there is other characters that have like better abilities to utilize the crit better. That's like easier to set up CC, for example. He needs 2 abilities to set up CC, whereas other can CC much easier and then use that to land free crits on you, or just other benefits like high mobility or whatever. So even in a crit, like he's only good in a crit meta as long as there's a response build that is not crit that he can use well, in my opinion. But obviously, if you buff him, that might change.
Yeah, for sure. When those ricochets do hit perfectly, it's chef's kiss.
Because the ricochet doesn't really benefit much from crit.
Rama's going to be the last god that we have lined up for bonus, for balance.
Yeah,
so
main
Rama's
patch
going to be
balance.
getting a buff.
Similar situation with Hu Yi, Rama was really meta for most of last year after his minor rework. He was, as characters tend to do, though, get after those reworks, they tend to get nerfed a lot, right? And so we are, at this point, having barely seen him in Season 8 and in Pro League, we were, pretty confident that he was over-nerfed slightly. So we're getting some slight changes to him to bring him back. The scaling damage on Rolling Assault is a really interesting kind of almost a way to put some burst damage into a character kit that's known for no burst damage. Rama is known for kind of that constant basic attack damage, but the Rolling Assault giving you an extra, it is still fired like a basic attack, but getting that extra scaling there can give you a little bit of burst damage. We think that could help him a lot. And then also Astral Barrage, the ultimate, which we had previously nerfed pretty heavily, bringing this back a little bit, where his main purpose in Pro League last year was just picking one person on an enemy team and saying, nope, you are gone, right? And they were just focused DPSing that. And I think that the nerf we did to him maybe took him too far where he was not really able to do that. So, if you hit your snipes, you should be rewarded. So we're bringing back some of that damage.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is, right, the safety that he used to have from ulting, and then he could dodge roll while he was landing, which made it very hard to actually pin down from like what should be a very clear point to kill him when he lands. That also let him use it really aggressively, and we changed that to make it so that it better matches animations, which was a decent nerf to his safety, and that's also where we saw some of the drop off in this play. But it was a good change because it actually made sure it conveyed what he was actually doing properly, and you actually had room to hit him when he landed.
Yes, very good point. Glad you brought that up, Pon.
Sure.
Well, that is actually going to cover all the balance that we have for gods and items, but we are going to go into talking about some game mode changes. And the first one, pretty spicy, is Joust. Let's talk about it, Ajax. Tell
Oh,
us
yeah, I
about
wanna hear
Joust.
All
this.
right, I have a lot of things to say, especially since we've already seen people react to this.
Yeah.
So I don't even know where to start. I should have prepared better. Anyway, Classic Joust is coming back, and it's coming back for real this time. It's come back as an adventure. It's been kind of a side mode, but this time we're bringing it back for real. We are making the default map for Joust, Duel, and Ranked Joust, and Ranked Duel, which is the only one, are all going to be played on the Classic Joust map. However, this Joust map has quite a few balance changes to it. I know a lot of people were worried about some of the problems with the old map, but there is a lot of balance changes. And I mean, reading them all individually, it can be a little bit difficult to parse, but let me just summarize, which is that we've done some major changes to the way XP is split on the map, as well as the way that XP and gold sources on the map scale. We've changed that pretty significantly to address the XP and gold scaling issues that Joust maps tend to have. The Season 7 Joust map also had this problem. I went back and dug through the archives of YouTube to find Joust tournaments from 2012 and stuff like that. It still had this problem. People were finishing matches at 25 minutes with full builds, and they were still level 14, right? They were just really low on experience and high on gold. And that creates a really weird feeling in Smite because most of our other game modes don't have that problem. So we wanted to address this with Joust along with the map change. So I think this Classic Joust is going to feel a lot, it's going to be the map. You're going to get the creativity and those crazy pathing choices of the old map, but you're going to get a more modern Conquest or, like other non-Conquest modes feel where your XP and gold make more sense. This is also kind of setting up the idea that we could experiment with rotating different maps into a game mode. I know I've seen a lot of comments over the past few days about like people wishing we just added more game modes, or people thinking we should just pick the best Joust map. But I really think all three Joust maps just have their own unique strengths and weaknesses.
They're all
I don't know if they're
special.
really. Yeah, and I know a lot of people have a lot of love for the middle Joust map, the seasons like 3 through 6 Joust map. And we will keep an eye on that one and see if we can get that one into the rotation soon too. But Classic is first. We've had a lot of really positive metrics to the Classic Joust adventures. One of the most played adventures, the most PvP'd played adventure. Every time we bring it back, it does really big numbers. So we're really excited to change it up. Also, it's just adding a really big shakeup to the Joust and Duel community. Like I know a lot of times those communities feel like they have to wait a really long time. We rework the map every 3 years or something like that. We changed initiatives this year to change Conquest quarterly, which is really often. And I felt like the other maps were just kind of getting left out. So we went ahead and kind of did this reworked Joust map, with the main new feature being this anti-tower shred mechanic, where the red buff will enhance and help you deal much more damage to enemy towers. And all that said, we're still going to PTS test it. We're still going to play it. I'm still going to talk to player feedback. And if we need to make a few more changes before launch in the PTS, a few more balance changes, specifically to prevent people from tower sitting, we will do that.
I think those are some interesting reasons. I mean, I didn't really see why they wanted to do that at the start, but I do think these reasons are interesting. I think it's just frustrating for people that, prefer the current map and don't really have a choice unless they're playing that in customs now. But yeah, we'll see how it goes and how long it stays.
But
And how much people like it.
there's more.
What? There's more?
Yes, the custom games.
That's true. Yeah, there is a few more interesting little features. Custom games are going to allow now Season 7 Joust and Classic Joust will be selectable for custom games. Also, the Classic Joust has had some art changes. The last time we ran this map, it ran as a kind of a Halloween fall promotion, and we didn't really want to run that in the middle of spring, summer. So the trees will be changing their leaves seasonally back to green. There won't be as many jack-o'-lanterns, and by that I mean no jack-o'-lanterns unless we forgot.
I was like, as many.
Yeah, just less jack-o'-lanterns.
Could be a couple.
Still some jack-o'-lanterns.
We wanted to keep some
the map.
jack-o'-lanterns.
And it's really great to launch an Arthurian map with an Arthurian goddess, which I just think is really nice way to package the whole update show, and the whole update to one thematic goal. So a lot of exciting things. Personally, I'm a huge fan of this map as well. So sorry, there's a little bit of bias there, but really excited to see the player stats on playing this map, as well as seeing the feedback as we go through this adventure together. It's going to be really interesting.
Sweet. So that covers Joust. There was
I
a
think
lot
that
to
covers
Joust.
everything.
Arena, Roman Arena will return with this update.
Yeah, that's just an art change. But, you know, Cthulhu's kind of been defeated for a little while now, so his grasp over the arena map has faded away. But what could happen next to it? Who knows? Maybe you'll find out in a future update.
I know, but I won't.
Oh,
Then let's
no.
go ahead and shift over to community news. So the gem sale is still going on. The gem sale, you can save 33% off of gems. Ooh, sorry. Gem sale. Now through Monday, 33% off. Enjoy.
Check the link in the description if you want to support me a little bit, because that's where you can get the gems on sale, and I got an affiliate link. Or you can use the code DukesLoth on Epic.
You can also get 3 times Worshippers Friday through Sunday. And don't forget, Azula Pele is still 25% off, but only through Monday. So you only have a couple more days for that. And if you have been collecting your Prime Gaming rewards, there's a new one available. Grimweaver Arachne went live yesterday. So if you haven't claimed that yet, go ahead and pick that up. And that will cover the majority of the community news. So we can get right into the skin section of the update going live on June 15th, but we will be right back for the skin section.
Oh, what's gonna happen now?
Summer is gonna be
Playing music that I need to mute?
amazing.
I actually don't know if this music is copyrighted or not, so we're just gonna watch Gilgamesh kicking people again for an extended period of time. I think most people have seen this trailer by now, but it's a good one, but I don't know what the music is, so maybe it's a Monster Cat music or something. I don't want to take that risk because I haven't activated the license yet.
thought you just become a
I don't know if
sale.
I've seen that video before. That was amazing.
Really? Isn't
Wait,
that
what?
fantastic?
It's been a busy week. I haven't been on social media as much, but that I was laughing, genuinely laughing that whole experience. What are we supposed to talk
I
about
was
now?
too, and then I was scared that I wasn't muted, and it was just going to be like me giggling in the background of this video. But shout out to Joe for making that video. It's hilarious.
Well done.
Joe's great at all those meme things. But now we've got the skin section ready for the Dark Enchantress update. So again, all these skins will be available starting June 15th. If you want to download any of the wallpapers, they're all on the notes. But let's get into the Talons of Tyranny event. We've got Deep Space Ratatosker. And he's spooky.
What?
Yeah,
We
he's
were
All
like,
the eyes, the teeth.
how can we make Ratatosker actually kind of scary or intimidating? And this is what we set out to do. Make it very different from all of his other skins, right? Which I think is always exciting
Oh,
when you
yeah.
make something that really stands out in the whole line. And this one just turned out really cool.
Oh yeah, I think with the eyes, the teeth, the talons, the
Oh my
tail, the
God.
hair, it's all very scary, which I'm not used to for Ratatosker.
That is terrifying.
Look
Yeah,
at the
the
like
voice
look at how
pack
well
actually-
the 3D team. Oh,
The
sorry,
3
Vaughn.
blinking eyes.
Oh yeah, the fur on that is like, is that even fur?
Yeah, his mohawk and his like
Yeah.
skin and eyes, they really just pop. But what fun fact do you have about his voice pack
The
for us?
twitching.
Oh yeah. The art team kind of passed along a story that he's like an alien creature that landed here, and they're from like a species that like just planet hops, basically consuming the entire planet and then moving on. So he's
yes.
he's on the
Oh.
battleground now. So danger's here.
All right, let's give it a listen.
This planet bores me. Give me something to sink my teeth into.
That's like
Oh
Gollum.
my gosh, not our planet.
He's a bad guy.
Nope, this planet it's over.
Oh my gosh, I don't want him to try to destroy
Oh, the
us.
tail
but-
flick too is oh.
What?
And we've also
here we
got
go.
T-Rex Tier. Oh my goodness, look at him.
For the trolley tier fans out there, we have the next iteration
Oh, you
of
can't see the head,
trolley
I'm
tier
sorry.
skin.
You'll see it in
You
a
thought
second.
Puppeteer couldn't get trollier. You were wrong.
It looks great. I love the ham or whatever that he's holding on to with the bone.
So basically,
my
the idea
gosh.
behind the skin is, you know, those inflatable dinosaur suits that people run around in and make funny videos in and stuff like that.
Yes.
It's like, what if Tyr was in one of those and also just tried
At,
to
like the
battleground of the
Renaissance
gods
Festival or
you?
something. Oh my gosh, it's great. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's so goofy looking with his little face and
I love how someone's so
And so
serious.
his,
He just gets these skins.
his spines
yes.
on his suit, as well as the glow of his weapon, will change colors with his stance, as will his animation posture, which is kind
Oh,
of a
that's
really
so
big tell.
cool.
So he will still be, yeah, you'll still see those tells for how to tell what stance he's in.
Nice. Let's hear
Now
what he
here's
has to
Joke.
say. Maybe he's got something to tell us.
All right, kids. Who's ready to be entertained by this Cretaceous beast? Ugh, I'm gonna need a drink first.
Oh my god.
So the whole voice
Oh
pack
my
is as
God.
if Tyr himself was actually hired to like work a birthday party, and he's trying to stay in
my
character
God.
to be fun, but he's secretly lamenting the fact that he has to be a fun cartoon dinosaur. It's the
Oh
commitment to
my
the
God.
bit in the voice pack is really intense, and good job to the team who wrote it.
Yes.
It is so good.
Oh, that's
man.
hilarious.
This is so bad, but
We've
so
also
good.
got Tombstone Raider Hachiman.
That may be the funniest skin.
Oh, so
Ooh.
cool.
Smite.
So
that
cool. I
horse is
love
so
like the
cool.
I
deteriorated.
hope the hand has like
Yes.
some many reference.
Yes, yes,
This
yes.
one
And like
is
he's got the
a,
cowboy hat.
Right, this is a kind of a new iteration on the witch hunter type of vibe.
Oh,
But you know,
yeah.
that type of universe with like, you know, angels and demons and undeads fighting against each other with more modern weaponry, but with a Western twist to it.
I love it.
It's good.
Oh my gosh, I love
I'm still
the
stuck on
Western
Tyr though.
bits to it. He's got his boots, he's got the spurs on him and everything.
Oh, the longhorn.
Oh
the
yes,
longhorn
on
symbol on the
the
back.
longhorn.
He's got
Oh
the
my
boots
gosh.
with the spurs.
Oh man.
Oh my god, yes. Let's give the voice pack a listen.
Well, there's a fair piece of evil out there. The time for me to avoid it is past. But I'll sure enough cut it down a bit.
What he
Oh,
said there was
like a bounty hunter almost.
Yeah, he's very wise and, you know, calm, and
literally
he's just like,
understand it.
well, I guess I'll be fighting today. That kind of voice, right?
Yeah, he's seen some stuff for sure. And then the last skin for the Talons of Tyranny event for this update is going to be Divine Axe Izanami. And this is actually going to be the unlimited reward.
That is
And
sick.
Oh,
I
right,
am
yes.
obsessed.
This is a
Jeez,
tier
so
4 skin, you know, and the final reward. And really what we were aiming for with this one is to kind of de-creepify Izanami a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
We had
That
made
is
maybe
really
one
sick.
skin where she was more human, but we wanted to go even
I
further.
really like
and
the weapons.
animation and rigging team spent some more time on the goddess to create a more of a heroic presentation. You know, she's still pretty. This is still a very ferocious type of character who's willing to fight.
I
at
wish
any
they made the
moment,
weapons
but a lot
like
of
even
other
brighter.
adjustments went into it to make her feel a little bit more unique
Her
from other Izanami
posture looks
skins.
kind of weird for
I
what she.
love the effects on her
looks like,
weapons.
though.
Those are so
She
pretty.
still has that Izanami posture.
And of course, the color scheme with pink, blue, white, and gold can't go wrong. Let's see what she has to say.
My quest has brought me here. Evildoers stand before us. For the sake of this land, we must put a stop to them.
I want to see
Yeah,
her
I
game.
feel like
See,
she's
Izanami as a
amazing
hero.
and she's going to protect. Yeah.
I see the animation.
She's here to
stuff.
protect and save us. Oh, I love her.
Like why she's a T4.
So again, that will be the unlimited reward for
Oh, yeah.
Talons of Tyranny. Oh, yay.
Well, those basic attacks are
Look at those
clean.
Oh,
attacks.
I dig it.
Yes. I love the blue
Those
and
are
pink.
awesome.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. And almost like electric.
And there's like some electric,
Oh.
like arcane energy there.
Ooh, what was that? That's like an
Yeah.
angel thing popping up. on
I'm
the
really
team.
loving how like hot that blue is. Oh, yay. I love it.
Very nice effects. Yeah, really happy with that.
This color scheme is like my whole life.
Oh, that targeter. That alone is really cool.
I'm missing why this is a
Oh,
tier 4 though.
pretty.
I'm just remembering what the
Lots of
the
really
And
cool stuff
our
going on in
audio
the
game.
team. Mhm. the audio team made a comment about how they had a little bit of a difficult time trying to change Izanami being such a creepy character, you know, trying to make them more magical and regal sounding. And I think they really knocked it out of the ballpark.
Definitely.
Very well done.
I think the model's really
people
cool. The,
really underestimate game audio as an important feature of game. I talk about this a lot in our God development kind of stories, but abilities just feel bad until the audio team gets to them. You know, animation, effects, it all comes together, and it does it. You know, and that's really important too. But without audio, it's really weird. You know, so big shout outs to our audio team, because they are, you know, the beautiful cherry on top of the sundae that is Smite.
I feel like the animations.
Well, again, that is our unlimited reward for the Talons of Tyranny event. But let's get into the Independence chest. This is a chest that we have every year.
Oh, here we go.
The first skin in it is Dread President Cthulhu. And he has my vote.
What?
I don't have to see it in game. I don't have to hear the voice lines. He has my vote.
Look at the card art. Everybody freaking out, going crazy. Some people loving him, some people hating him. It's...
People want their babies kissed by him.
We try to go up to the troll factor on our 4th of July skins, and this one is no different. And I mean, both 4th of July skins this year are absolutely wild.
Yes. And look at him. Such a good boy. I love those pants, almost like iridescent on the stripes.
Wait, his tattoos
really
glow.
Good in that suit and vest. It
His
really
tattoos
works
glow
for
in
him.
blue,
And, of course,
red,
he's got
and
all
white.
of
Look
the
at that.
effects. His particle effects are all updated to be crazy red, white, and blue. Oh yeah, he's got different runes on his model, character model, and just an all-around hilarious.
Oh my gosh!
Presentation for an over-the-top USA character.
Let's listen to his presidential speech.
Why settle for that off-brand evil when you could have the real thing? Vote Cthulhu.
Wait, why is his hat there and not there? This is like the dog and pants discussion. How is his hat not falling off? How is it not up there?
Oh
yes,
man!
Vote Cthulhu. Let's go ahead and hop in game and take a look at this all together.
Oh, here we go. Oh, nice.
Oh my goodness!
Oh no,
yes.
I saw the outline.
I love all the red, white, and blue, and like the stars and everything.
Oh, okay. Oh no!
Oh,
Fireworks.
are those almost like? Yes.
That is so
Usually,
distracting.
Oh, that
fireworks
is
a
so
common,
cool.
Oh god.
Oh my
like
gosh!
a whole pile of fireworks in the sky dropping down.
Oh god. This skin is still gonna
that's
be
so
incredibly
neat.
bad.
Oh, and he's got them
Oh,
behind
look at
him when
those.
he
He's
does
got
his dash
rocket.
too.
And the wing
And the
trails.
sound effects. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Oh my god.
There's like a whole
Look at
party
the
going
the
on.
president. This
Fireworks.
is so pretty. This makes me... Wow, I cannot wait for the 4th of July.
I don't know if you can
Rockets
hear
just
it,
bursting in.
but there's background like Osei, can you see? Like there's that playing in the background, like a very deep, eerie version of it during that ultimate.
Oh my god, I want to
Oh,
hear
I'm gonna try and be
crazy.
quiet.
Can we
Can't
do
hear
that
it.
again?
So creepy.
I hear it.
It
I
is
hear
so
it.
creepy. It's almost like a carnival. It's like carnival
yeah.
plus 4th of July or something. I love it. So again, this will be available in the Independence Day chest.
Oh my god.
That will go live with the update. But let's take a look at the other skin that'll be a part of this chest as well. The Eagle's Elbow Camisots.
So we went with more of a professional wrestler vibe, as well as a hefty dose
What
of
are
birds
these
with
skins?
arms meme. That's kind of the combination of how this... I know you're probably looking at this right now and just going, what the were they thinking? And that is what we were thinking.
This is what we were thinking.
And Camisots is just such a unique body type, right? So we were like, let's do some crazy creature thing. And this theme is kind of a lot of our 4th of July skins are very humanoid. So this year we have both creatures to kind of keep the Anubis company in that skin line.
Oh,
You're trying
man.
to make sure Anubis is taken care of.
You know I always got to look out for my boy.
But I do love this one. Also has all those, of course, red, white, and blue effects. But then he's also got like the stars around his head with this little bandana. He's got the American flag on his belt. It's hilarious and
details.
amazing. Yes. Let's listen to his voice pack.
What? Never seen a bird with arms?
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Oh no.
Let's hop in game. Yeah.
Are those fighter jets?
It's a
Those are
mini fighter
jets.
jet.
That is.
I should have known
sick.
FX Team was gonna do that. But I had no idea that was gonna happen. Oh my god, that's so funny.
Wait, is that a bat though?
And the crowd cheers
Oh my
when he hits his other skill shot.
Oh, this is just so. A lot of details. Everything is stars and stripes, and
Give
I'm
him the
living for
hands.
it.
Is it bad that I want to play this?
I love the flag trails.
So bad.
Yes,
Yes.
those are crazy. They
You need
look so
to-
solid, and yet their effects. That's a really interesting tech.
You need
The audio team
to
also
kill someone
wanted
to
me
see
to
the
let-
passive.
Yes.
Oh, it's a hamburger. Yep.
Oh,
There it is.
And you
because
can
he
It's a
can
burger
hear
and
him
fries.
eating a cheeseburger.
It's a burger
during
and
it.
fries and a drink. It's a full combo meal. And here you can go nom 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 nom
Oh
nom.
man.
Yeah, you can
Oh
hear
my
him eating the
gosh.
hamburger.
Oh god.
Or cheeseburger, my bad. I think it has cheese on it. So it's perfect for the 4th of July cookout. You know, you got your burger, you got your drink, just chilling.
I'm hungry now. It is lunchtime actually.
Just imagine a team
Oh
fight.
yeah,
It's just
after this, maybe I'm gonna
burgers
have to get a burger.
everywhere.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
but so
I love the
cool.
jets.
Oh no.
And all of the
Oh
sound
now he's
effects
killed out
and
because there's
everything is
stacked 2
just
drinks. No.
So perfect for the 4th of July.
Yes, kill more of
So
them.
again, the Independence chest. Next up, we have a new skin available in the viewer store as well. So this is going to be Neon Trails Naja will be available for part of the viewer pass.
Oh, nice. So this is one
No, I
of the
just spent
new
my
skins
points.
in the viewer pass.
Looks
So
sick.
it'll be at the higher viewer point total, and it will also come with a rotation of, I believe it's the
Yes.
Raijin skin. So if you want
I'll
that
have to check
skin,
on that one.
it should be in the game's UI which one's rotating. But since we're rotating a new 75K skin, make sure you check that out. But then make sure you pick or save your points for this one when it comes out because it is really cool looking. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I love
love
the
the
effects
colors
on
here.
his
Wheels.
wheels. Yes, I'm like, I want those as rollerblades. And his weapon having all of those almost like iridescent kind of glowy effects, really pretty. But let's listen to the voice pack.
Got a new spot to tag. Nice.
Nice. Sounds like a cool dude.
I want to see the animation when he runs. with
I
the
also love that
halfling.
dragon flying around. It's so, the way it flashes between all
Jetpack,
those
yeah.
colors, so pretty. But again, that will be part of the viewer pass. And then we have Gecko
gosh.
Guardian Ymir. And wait till y'all see the in-game model.
Oh
It is
wow. The card art
Yeah.
is so beautiful though. Like, we had Gecko.
Oh, I
we have
know.
this new skin line of these cool little Gecko characters that build these crazy construct armor to battle in. We had the Gecko Gladiator Xingqian, which was a little more combative, and
Yes.
now we have the Gecko Guardian, which is a little bit more calm and zen.
This is so
chill,
good.
drinking tea, hanging out.
Oh my gosh.
Friends with all the little animals. Look at all of them. But I love when we do these transparent
Oh
my
textures
God,
that is
where
so
you can
cool.
see
That-
through
wow,
and
Oh,
there's
that looks so good.
a whole like ecosystem is like existing, evolving, living in this Ymir skin. I love that.
Oh, that's so
Wow,
cool.
That is such a cool.
There's like
Mhm.
fishes
Style.
Got the
swimming in him.
fish. Yeah, they're
Oh,
like
yeah, I see
literally
them.
living their lives, and they travel around like up and down throughout. So
That's
I
incredible.
love
And look at the Gecko
don't
in the
know
how
back.
the
He's
dude
just
does
like asleep. He's like, yo, wake me up when we
Wait, does he have a
win.
book there as well?
that.
He's so cute.
If you need me, let me know.
I want to see what the one in the weapon does when you
Let's
attack.
listen to the voice pack.
We might be 3 meditating geckos, but at least we We keep it interesting around here.
Oh, so true.
So
you
the
do keep it
geckos.
interesting.
Oh, that's a great voice pack. Well executed.
Yes,
God.
everything about this skin is really well executed, I feel like.
So good.
So, we're going to hop in.
Oh, he has a
look at-
book.
Oh my gosh, he's a bedtime story. Oh
Dude,
my
as he
gosh.
moves, his head waggles back and forth. Oh my gosh. That is just too
I'm-
cute.
Yeah.
This is so good because
I
it
don't know
looks so
how,
cool
but
from the
I
back
want to
as
see
well.
this cosplayed.
Like you have something interesting to look at from the back.
Look at
Just
that.
chilling.
While you're playing.
How?
I don't know, Ajax. That's for you to figure out, I guess.
I just want to zoom in on some of the details.
That is
He
really
blows
cool. though.
bubbles. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Let me see the
So
sleepy
this
one. I want to see the sleepy one. He's my favorite. He's on the back.
Yeah, the sleepy one. There you go. He's conked
at
out,
him.
dude.
Oh, he had a
Oh
book,
my
but he's
gosh.
done. Now
Yes.
he's just like, yeah.
Fell asleep reading. Oh my
Oh my
god,
God.
so
Oh my gosh.
precious.
Oh, he's got water
this'll be-
footsteps.
I can't see what the guy went.
Oh yeah, leaving a little trail.
orange one doesn't
too.
really attack.
So cute.
Where did it go? Does it go in the hole? Oh, that's pretty.
Beautiful.
Mystical stylized wall.
Yes,
love
it
it.
has like succulents on it and everything. So pretty. Ooh,
Coral.
and like,
Oh,
am I hearing
what?
like rainforest sound effects with?
Yes. There's rainforest sound effects.
Well,
on
let
this
it be
wall.
known that they nerfed Ymir before they released this skin. They never give
Oh,
them
yes.
any crap for that again.
So peaceful.
I hear it.
Especially
This
after the
is-
ultimate.
I feel like I'm not going to be afraid of this Ymir, and I should
Oh my
still
god, it's
be
like a
afraid
whole.
of this.
Oh,
Ymir.
what? Oh, I wish I played Ymir more. It's just like.
Part of the difficulty of fighting against
I might have
Ymir
to play
is
Ymir
you,
for this
you
game.
love him too much on all of his skins. you know?
Yes. And the lily pads that go up with the ult is so pretty. Oh, and the jumping
Absolutely
has
gorgeous
the little
skin
succulents
all
too.
around. Oh, the dance.
There's-
The
Yes.
dance while you're a gecko.
Is
Surprised the
sleepy
little
one
guy's
gonna
not waking
wake
up.
Oh my god, he's popping off. The
He's
yellow
really
one.
Oh
tired,
my
dude.
gosh. I love the watery sounds too of just hitting people. It's like it doesn't sound underwater, it sounds like you're literally hitting somebody with water.
Oh man, this one's just so good. It's crazy.
So this is actually going to be part of the Gecko Guardian DLC bundle. So this is going to be bundled with in-game cosmetics, gems, and the skin.
Okay, so a totally new type of purchasing for it, essentially.
Yes, it won't be in a
Very
chest, it'll be a DLC bundle.
That sounds expensive.
Awesome.
Aww.
That's such a fun skin.
It is. I could watch him just run around all day.
Gonna have to practice
Oh my
that
gosh,
Pioneer
it's so good.
skills.
I feel confident that I'm
That's awesome.
okay with Ymir, so that'll be my new main skin. But that is actually everything that we had to go over today. We had the intro was the overview of the VOD from Wednesday from Morgan Le Fay's reveal. Ooh, sorry, I'm having a hard time with my words, y'all. But we went over all that. We went over the balance, the bonus balance, the skins in the bonus balance or the bonus section, the skins from this section. So there's a lot to look forward to. If you missed anything, make sure you check out the notes. Everything's already listed there for you. Joust. So much going on. So make sure you check out the notes. But that's going to be it for us today. Is there any closing words that y'all have?
Joust.
Okay, cool. Joust. What about you, Pompon? What's your word of the day?
I mean, those geckos, right? The sleepy gecko. Sleepy gecko is best gecko.
Sleepy gecko. Totally agree. Well, thank you guys for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Until next time, stay sweet, and we'll see you on the battleground, y'all. Bye.
Stay sweet. I was actually surprised. I didn't expect. I can actually play this without sound. I didn't expect so many good skins to come out in this patch that they would not even show at all on the patch. So I'm really happy that they showed them to us here. Or that there was something worth watching the patch show for, because I wasn't sure, like, you know, after I know all the changes, is it still worth looking into this? But the skins, dude. And it's nice to hear some explanations for some of the changes as well. Like, some I still obviously don't agree with, but some I think it just make more sense when you hear the explanation with them and the reasoning why they're done. Or also some where you know that they also acknowledge that it is a relatively soft change and they just kind of looking things go from there. Yeah, I am very much looking forward to the skins now though, because I really want to play quite a few of them. Like especially the Tour one, the Camazotz one, and the Ymir one seem like pretty cool skins. So with that, thank you everyone for watching. Again, we're doing the normal outro when we have a normal recorded video again. If you're new to the channel, hit the sub button and maybe the bell. And on that, I hope to see you for the next one soon, which will be the Morgan Le Fay in-game first look. Duke Sloth, out.